It's a personal question. It's not exactly about this,
Yep.
but it's generally about love and donations.
Yes.
If I might, I can ask it now.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I've recently stopped working with my father's company.
Yep.
And started doing massage,
Yep.
which I really wanted to do.
Which you really love. Yep.
Yeah. Now, I'm a little bit in a conflict there because I don't know, is it completely unloving to take money for it? Because, like, this is now my conflict a little bit because I still have to live. I still have quite some expenses every month. You know, everyone knows that.
Can I give you a very quick answer?
Yes, please.
It's unloving to demand money for it.
Right.
It's not unloving to take money when it's offered to you.
Yeah.
There's a big difference. So in other words, if we were placing a demand upon people that they give to us, then that is an unloving demand. And what I would do, see, the human race has huge emotions about money. Yeah. Often our emotions about money are so intense that we're totally willing to sacrifice love in order to receive money. And when I say totally willing to sacrifice love, we're willing to sacrifice so many things for the sake of money on the planet. Yeah. You know, the reality is thousands and thousands of people die in every country every year because the hospital system wants money. Not for any other reason. It's because they just can't pay for the services that they need in order to survive, and they die. That's how strong our Earth's injuries about money are. We'd prefer that they pay money, and like in the USA, as Michael would know, you get locked out of hospital if you don't have healthcare cover. You get prevented from even entering some hospitals, a lot of hospitals in the US, without any healthcare cover. So what's that about? Unless there's the money, we're not doing a humanitarian service. Yeah. That's what that's about. And the reality is, on the earth, we have huge issues with money. Yeah. Huge issues. My suggestion is try to deal with those emotions as soon as you can, because they're the emotions that prevent abundance in your life. They prevent abundance. Yeah. So the truth is that you can place a donation box, or even this is the truth, you can even demand money from people and still not get it for a service. Yeah. Right? I've seen many people in business do work for money, and because of a number of different emotional issues they have personally, they actually create nobody paying them. Right? But when you give up the demand for money, it's very interesting, because now the money you receive will be based upon the worth you feel you have. Right. And that's very confronting emotionally to deal with. Because when I did that, the first thing I received was no money. So I used to earn lots of money. I used to be a computer consultant, and I had my own company, and my hourly rate was 300 Australian dollars an hour. That was my hourly rate. And many people felt I was worth it. I was very good at what I did. I could often set up like 8 to 10 servers all at once at the same time, doing all sorts of things. So I was very, very productive, a lot of times far more productive than a person charging 1/3 of that price. But you know, I thought that was a pretty good place, right? And I also used to do a bit of property development. And in property development, I used to earn $10,000 very quickly. Like, when I say very quickly, you know, sometimes, well, one job I did 20 hours and I earned $220,000 from 20 hours of my time. So that was quite productive, right? Now, when I gave up the demand for that other people pay me, I went from that to receiving those kind of funds to receiving nothing. Right. And for quite a few years, not a single person donated to me at all. Yeah? And that went on for nearly 4 or 5 years. Yeah? I spent all the money that I'd earned previously as a result by living and travelling and so forth, and eventually I ended up with no money at all. It was when I ended up with no money that I dealt with the emotion. Yeah. Ironically. And once I started dealing with the emotions, so many different emotions came up for me. And in fact, in the end, one of the biggest emotions that came up for me was that actually my death in the 1st century was the result of money. The reality is, when I died in the 1st century, it was totally because the Sanhedrin of which the Sadducees were the leaders, felt that if I continued to be allowed to preach what I called at the time the good news of the kingdom, the good news of truth, if I was allowed to continue preaching that good news, they, in the end, would have all of their money sources destroyed. That's what they felt.
Right.
And so what finished up happening was that they decided that it was better to kill me, and it was a purely economic decision. Killing me was an economic decision in the first century by the Sanhedrin. Yeah. It was barely even a religious decision, because many of them had no religious thought in their brain or in their heart. You know, they were basically quite authoritarian, autocratic, and very money-hungry people. And so that was the reason for my death. And so I had to process a heap of emotions about even my own death was a result of people basically with money. And I had a big rage about money itself. Like, why do we need it? We shouldn't need it. We should be able to get all those kind of feelings. And once I get rid of all of those feelings, after that we started to receive some donations to survive. Yeah. So my suggestion for your own self is that when you change from doing things for money into doing things voluntarily, you will, if you deal with the money issues inside of your soul, you will in fact get enough money to survive. If you don't deal with the things within your soul, you definitely will be triggered and you won't get the money until you deal with those emotions.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
The other side of it is passion. When a person is in their passion, it's highly likely they will get enough money to do their passion. That's the irony of the universe.
Yeah.
If you have a look at many of the very rich people on the planet, many of them are in their passions really full on. Like they spend 90, 100, 120 hours doing their thing, because they love doing it. And because of that, they become quite wealthy as well. But they don't do it because they want to be wealthy. They just do it because they love whatever it is that they're doing. Yeah. And that's the other lesson to learn about money, is when you do what you love, rather than compromise, you will in fact